the analyst firms themselves acknowledge that what you need to do is have the ability to fine tune the weights on the criteria or which industries you're interested in are relevant for you or which industry you are in. And then all of a sudden, companies appear or disappear and their positioning changes.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you are joining for the first time, this is our Fridays where we bring very special guests. And for today, we have ultra special guests. I don't think you are going to find more special guests than him. So we are going to talk about his intro very shortly. But these are the episodes that we do every Friday between 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Depending upon the time zone and the availability of the guest. So Carter, let's start with your intro. You want to talk about it? I don't know if anybody might not know you. That's very rare, I guess. But still, provide some introduction about you.
Well, first off, Sam, thank you very much for inviting me to be a guest on WBS Rocks. I really find this to be a very useful set of information, whether it's your panels with various analysts or the one-on-one interviews. So again, thank you very much for having me here. First off, me. I've been in the analyst game for over a third of a century, both as a Gartner IT manager client, as a Gartner analyst, as an analyst of the analysts at the original Sage Circle, which I co-founded with VC backing, and analyst relations jobs, and back to the analyst side with Ovum, now Omdia, and then back to analyst of the analysts. So again, I have a pretty broad, unique perspective on the analyst game. Now, Lusher Advisory, my new firm, is a boutique research and advisory firm with over, again, 30 years of experience that helps clients navigate the complex analyst ecosystem and turns analyst engagements into real business value. That's key, business value. You're not here to build a relationship with the analysts, not to be their friends. Now, we address 5 distinct audiences. AR professionals, obviously. Technology executives who are considering to either launch a AR program or to fine tune it. Number 3 are the business leaders who are using research to make business decisions. Analyst firms and analysts. Yes, I advise the analyst firms. And then the 5th audience are agencies who are looking to up their game when it comes to an AR practice. Now, through a very structured and research-driven approach, we help clients sharpen their strategy, build influential relationships, and get more value from their analyst engagement. So that's me. That's Lusher Advisory.
Love it. And thank you so much for breaking that down because it does help in terms of, what is your focus. So thank you so much for providing that. So I'm going to talk to my audience just for a minute and then we'll come back to some questions. So again, if you're in the audience, we would love to see your comments, stories, any questions that you have. Again, you are not going to find more experienced, more credible, person in the AR community. And our goal always is to create this 3-way conversation. So even though you're not part of the conversation here, but you are kind of part of the conversation. So make sure you guys post your questions, comments. So, Carter, I want to hit on some of the points that you mentioned. Business value. And I know we have done like 2 or 3 different episodes. I know that you had probably dialed in in some of them. So I don't know if you're going to have any sort of feedback, if you want to address any of the points from that. I know these guys were talking about business value. They were talking about, how to attack the AR game as well. Some people attack this more from the startup perspective. Other people did more from the big company perspective. So maybe provide your insight, or if you want to address that we have discussed. If you disagree with me, that's completely okay as well.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's different business values depending on constituency.
Yeah.
So for the buyers of technology, the business leaders at large enterprises, or the IT managers or the directors of IT at corporations, for them the business value is save you money,
Yeah.
save you time,
Yeah.
manage your risk, reduce your stress. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a very straightforward business proposition, and one that Gartner leans into, which is why Gartner has so many clients.
Yeah.
I mean, what CIO wouldn't put their, John Henry on a contract to save money, save time, manage your risk, reduce your stress?
Yeah.
For the vendor community, it's an entirely different situation when it comes to business value. Now, for the vendor community, there isn't quite a short, snappy value proposition like with the end users. What you are seeing, and by the way, Sarita, hey, hi, thanks for the first comment. You get the gold star today. A lot more questions and such. But for the business, for the technology vendors, the business value is lead generation, third-party validation.
Yeah.
Actually, driving the top line. I like to say effective AR drives sales. Now, for the investor community,
yeah.
it's a somewhat different value proposition. For them, what they're really interested in is like, what's going to be the hot new thing? What's the new trend? Who are the interesting little vendors that we need to be looking at? So again, there is real business value. It's easy to do from the point of view of an end user. It's a little bit more difficult to do from the point of view of a technology vendor. And it's impossible to do for the investors. But the investors, frankly, find some of their conversations with the analysts to be $1 million conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's very interesting. In my view, I guess I thought maybe investor would be easier because they don't have as much information, and I don't know where they can get this information, so it would be easier. But it's very interesting that that's difficult. It's difficult to create. Is that what you're saying? Or
well, no, it's just difficult to measure.
Okay.
And so like for the buyers of technology, they can do an inquiry with an analyst, and the analyst says, oh yeah, for this $1 million contract, with all these seats, configuration, such like that, you should be getting a 7% discount.
Yeah.
And the end user says, wait a minute, they're only offering a 2%.
Yeah.
So that 5% difference in terms of the discount, because the analyst says, hey, why aren't you getting that 7%? Go back to the vendor and go back to the sales rep.
Yeah.
That's easy to measure. On the technology vendor side, that's a little bit harder to measure unless the company has a really good marketing data capability.
Yeah.
So, for instance, you have a reprint, you put it up on your website, and when somebody signs up, it goes into your marketing funnel that you can then measure with Marketo, from the top of the funnel down to the bottom of the funnel.
Yeah.
And then you can start saying, oh, wait a minute, this particular piece of research drove $3 million top of the funnel, and $1 million at the bottom of the funnel. That was a pretty good return on investment for this $40,000. Or you work with your sales organization and have them start asking the buyers of technology, why did you contact us? Did you read the analyst research and such like that? So there are ways for the technology vendors to figure out what are the business value for working with the analyst. But on the investor side, again, they're doing basic research. They're trying to look around the corner. And that's just inherently more difficult to measure. But on the other hand, if they get that one aha moment that helps them decide, I'm going to start looking into this sector. And they might make a $10 million depending on the seed rounds or whatever. Then again, they might not know if they get a winner out of this 10 years later. But they got the value to say, this is really worthwhile looking at.
Yeah. So let's talk about that point a little bit more. Let's hammer that down. Okay. So, and I'll give you some stories from my perspective in terms of what I am hearing in the community. And I don't know if you are hearing the same things as well. So when I talk to AR people, obviously they have, their own sort of positioning in terms of where they see these things, right? And they are getting a lot of pushback from their teams. So one point that you mentioned is, if you are spending, let's say, $40,000, and we are going to do some numbers here, right? And maybe you can help me understand, because I don't, to be completely honest. Okay, so let's say if you're investing $40,000 on any sort of report, and then obviously you mentioned some pipeline, and I don't know whether that's going to be $1 million, 3 million, or maybe lower. I don't know. Okay, you can do crazy things and you can drive up the downloads, and hopefully that is going to convert in some sort of market. Now, if you are producing your own content, okay, you are still going to invest substantially. It's not free. So internal, whether you are investing internally, externally, externally, maybe you are hiring marketing agencies, and obviously they spend a lot, from the marketing agent like that. So I don't know what is going to be the cost of a piece of the content that you are producing. Maybe you are writing some sort of white paper. Maybe you are writing, I don't know, what you are doing. Somehow you are doing some inbound, I guess, if you are in business, right? So now comparison has to be between these. But the pushback and the perspective that I get from the AR community is they don't put the AR content in the same bucket. Okay, there are certain reasons. For example, salespeople, they are not necessarily as comfortable in positioning the AR material unless they get ranked number one, which is just a crazy scenario, because not everybody can be number one. And what's the point of being number one to begin with? I don't get it. Because from the buyer's perspective, if I talk to my buyer, they are looking for fine print, they are looking for detail. If somebody is number one, why they are number one? But from the vendor side, they only want to show the report only when they are number one. So there are two perspectives. Number one is your sales side of the equation, and number two is generating the demand. I guess generating the demand is not going to be a problem. I think any vendor is willing to do that. But from sales side, I think they are a little, concerned.
Well, actually, what's really interesting is that you are correct that sales reps always like to be the most up to the right dot on any of the what I call the big rocks. Whether it's the queue that you have, which is a nice little variation. Or of course the granddaddy, the Magic Quadrant, or the Forrester Wave, or the MarketScape, or the MGI 360 ratings, or on and on and on, almost at every analyst firm. But there's a variety of reasons why sales reps want to use these sorts of graphics or reprints of this nature. One is it shows third-party validation. Now think about it from the point of view of a particular market. There are markets where there are literally hundreds of vendors. So like CPQ, configure, price, and quote software within the monetization application marketplaces. There are over 200 CPQ vendors, but only about 15 or 20 show up on any particular big rock. And so right there, that's a validation. Hey, we matter. Because we show up. Now, you don't necessarily want to be in the lower left-hand box, a niche, because that says, oh, you're a loser. But on the other hand, again, I've seen vendors put out press releases proud that they were in the niche box because they spelt their name right. And so now for the sales reps who have a tendency to focus more on the position in the upper right, then that becomes important for the AR professionals and their colleagues in sales enablement to actually train the sales reps on why being in the upper left or the lower right is just as valuable for you. Because again, it really gets down to third-party validation. You matter because you are on this particular research report. Now, when it comes to measuring value from that, then we get into the whole sales enablement and blah, blah, blah. But again, it's really quite valuable for the vendors. Now, for the end users, let's talk about it from the consumer's point of view, the research consumer. So the vendors are buying these reprints, making them available, either on their website or they encourage their sales reps to send them out to their prospects as an excuse to have a touch. Oh, hi, Greg. We'll get to that in a minute or two. And Julian and Sarita, we haven't forgot you. We're going to be answering the questions. Now, when we look at, from the point of view of the consumer, let's say the IT manager or the business leader who is trying to make a decision around, which products to put on their short list, for instance, if they're making a procurement decision, and the all important short list. Now, the tendency is to look at the upper right-hand corner of any of the big rocks. And well, what I always say is, mine for gold in the niche box. In fact, as I won a Gartner research award for a research note called "Mining for Gold in the Niche." And in fact, as other analysts have reprinted it for decades. It's like, okay, that resonated because part of the frustration from the analysts is that no, you're using my research wrong. You shouldn't be focused in the upper right. You need to apply the research to your particular situation. So right there's an important thing for the research consumer. One is, first off, get a collection of these research notes. So in any particular market, there could be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these. Most of them, really look at it from the point of view of different, ways the analyst does. But vendors will mostly do reprints of anything that says anything remotely positive about it. So just don't go for the easy magic quadrant because that is the highest visibility. Or the Forrester wave because it has high visibility. Do a little digging. And find others. In fact, I just did a table for modernization applications, and I identified Constellation, Forrester, Gartner, IDC, ISG, MGI, Nucleus, and QS. And so the consumer, from the business side, as you can collect them. They're like baseball cards, and then compare and contrast. And then the second thing they need to think about is, can I get my hands on the entire reprint? A lot of times the sales rep will slap the graphic in a presentation and say, look where we are. But what you really need as a consumer of technology or consumer of research is to, actually read the entire report and multiple reports to get multiple perspectives. Now, if you happen to be a client or your company happens to be a client of that analyst firm, do an inquiry. Because the analyst can help apply the research to your specific situation. And that becomes really important because no two companies are alike. They're very similar. But again, you really need to, talk to the analyst if you happen to have that sort of subscription contract, advisory contract with the analyst firm. That's one of the key problems is that, clients don't talk to the analyst, so they're not getting their business value. Sort of a situation. Now, as we all know, we've got a situation where it's not cheap to be a client of a Gartner or a Forrester or whatever. And, if the IT manager or the business leader is thinking far enough ahead, they can say, next year we're going to be doing this sort of perhaps upgrade our current infrastructure. We need to actually, move off of Excel and use a real product for our revenue recognition. You look around, see which of the analyst firms have an event. You buy a ticket for, $1,500 or $2,000. You've got a little travel expense. And you go to the conference, you talk to the analysts at the conference. You get access to all of their research that you can download. So for a couple of $1,000, you do get some, inquiry, i.e. in the form of a one-on-one with the analyst or casual conversation. And then you can also get your hands on all the research. So that's a very inexpensive way, but it does take a little, advanced planning that, when are we going to be thinking about this particular product? Let's see if Forrester or Gartner or whoever, MGI or so on and so forth, has a conference that we should go to and it's timed correctly and we get a lot of good information for a lot less money.
So very interesting comments there. Thank you, for sharing those insights. So I'm going to, ask one question, and I'm probably going to put you on the hot seat right now because you are so good, Carter. Okay, and I'm gonna see how you respond to that, and we'll come back to the comments as well,
Yeah.
from the audience. So I'm actually gonna attack the loser comment that you mentioned, that nobody wants to be in the lower left, and I don't know if Gartner is to blame for this whole loser mindset because technically when you are looking at a quadrant, you are only looking at 15 companies, and obviously in that market segment there are going to be at least 200 companies, and I think you mentioned that, right?
Yeah.
And the way we look at it, and we are sort of the buy side advisory, and buyers, we sort of bring the buyer's perspective as well, that nobody is a loser. And I'll tell you why. Because everybody has their own target market.
Mhm.
Everybody has some sort of proven success if they are in the business, right?
Right.
So technically, nobody is a loser because they are going to have their own expertise. Either they are going to be really deep in the industry or they are going to be really deep in their size segment. So generally, the way I personally like to see is any business for that matter, right? We need to look at their proven success where they have been successful, and the odds of their success is going to be in that market segment. If you go to any other market segment, then that's probably a stretch because they are sort of stretching their boundary. They have not seen the same problems that they are going to see in the other market segment. So size and industry matters, and that's how 90% of the vendors are positioning. So maybe address why do you and Gartner believes that other vendors who are either in the lower left or they are not part of the quadrant are probably going to be losing.
Well, no, it's not that Gartner says that they're losers. It's not that Forrester says that they're losers. It's human nature. The same reason why everybody wants to be the upper right-hand dot is because human nature says, oh, if you're in the lower left-hand corner, you must be a loser. But the reality is that, again, there's only a handful of vendors on any big rock.
Yeah.
And so there are no losers on these graphics,
Yeah.
these dots, because in order to even get onto one of these big rocks, whether it's a MarketScape or your research or a Spark Matrix
Yeah.
from QKS,
Yeah.
they're a winner just to get on there.
Yeah.
So the part of the problem is really human nature and the perception. And that's why education is so important. I wish the analyst firms did a better job, rather than just reusing my 30-year-old mining for gold in the niche box research. Now, to a certain extent, they have addressed this.
Yeah.
So the analyst firms, not just Gartner and Forrester, but some of the other ones like Hackett,
Yeah.
with their digital matrix,
Yeah.
nucleus research and such like that.
Yeah.
They're permitting their clients to go online.
Yeah.
And then start playing with the Magic Quadrant using
Yeah.
Personalization tools. So you can go in and start to turn the dials when it comes to which, what's your characteristic?
Yeah.
What do you consider most important? Then all of a sudden you'll see the dots start to rearrange on the graphic. So it's the interactive Magic Quadrant from Gartner. And again, that's only available to clients because it is behind the paywall.
Yeah.
But the analyst firms themselves acknowledge that, what you need to do is have the ability to fine tune the weights on the criteria, or which industries you're interested in are relevant for you, or which industry you are in. And then all of a sudden, companies appear or disappear, and their positioning changes because you really do need to start to work on the ability. In fact, and it doesn't have to be a mega firm that has these capabilities.
Yeah.
So, for instance, Richard Steinem of IT Harvest, which is focused on cybersecurity technology vendors. One person shop and one technologist that is a PhD student at a university, I think.
Yeah.
And he has created a really fabulous online capability called Harvest IQ, which permits end users to go in, fine tune what they need within their particular cybersecurity requirements, and then it can generate a stack of, hey, here's the technologies you need, and then you can go and see what vendors are interesting. It will not tell you need to go and buy these vendors. or this vendor is the only choice.
Yeah.
It'll just help you quickly focus on, okay, which vendors should go on my long list and my short list.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I wish that the more analyst firms would have this capability,
Yeah.
and then B, that the clients of these analysts make sure that they use it. Again, another case of, the analyst firms not doing a great job of educating their clients that, hey, here's a tool, the interactive Magic Quadrant, for instance, or, Harvest IQ,
Yeah.
to help you make better use of our research
Yeah.
and fine tune it to your situation.
Yeah. So very interesting. So let's go over these comments first, and then I'm going to come back to this discussion again. Okay. So again, Sarita, hi, and thank you so much for joining. So Sarita is saying, what are you hearing from the AR community regarding their biggest challenges right now?
Well, that's always a perennial question. And number one is access to resources. Now, it's not just, dollars or budget, but also access to the stakeholders, and also to sort of like the extended AR team, like the people in product marketing that create content, getting the stories from the sales reps in terms of customer stories and such like that. And so that's really a big problem for the AR community. Now, an emerging problem right now is the whole thing around generative AI, deep research, and agentic AI, and AI agents and such like that. And I'm starting to hear from the community that, their executives are starting to go, perhaps we don't need to spend so much money on this expensive AR stuff.
Yeah.
Because AI can do it in the future. And 2 weeks ago, I published a rather large research note called "The Essential Human Element:
Yeah.
The Role of Tacit Knowledge
Yeah.
in Making AR AI Resistant." It's up on Lusher Advisory AR Intelligence, which is my Substack.
Yeah.
And where I go through and say, there are lots of great things that AI can do.
Yeah.
For AR or for vendors.
Yeah.
Coverage, monitoring, and alerts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
keeping track of all the research. Basic briefing scheduling. Now, this is a little bit aspirational because the agentic AI isn't quite to that point, but we can see at some point that they're going to be able to do scheduling. Report distribution internally, where you've got the reprint rights. Simple content summarization, which is critically important before the AR professional, time consuming.
Yeah.
Social media tracking, email template generation. So there's lots of things that AI can do.
Yeah.
But there's lots of things that AI can't do. That's the essential human element.
Yeah. It
includes building trust-based relationships. An AI can't build a relationship, much less a trust-based relationship.
Yeah.
So that might happen in the future. Reading between the lines and analyst feedback. Strategic timing of announcements, executive preparation based on analyst personalities. No two analysts are alike.
Yeah.
The AR professional, for Carol, we've got to emphasize this. For Bob, we emphasize that. For Sam, we need to point out this. Executive preparation based on analyst personalities, navigating organizational politics. AI, deep research, and I've been playing with it. It's really good.
Yeah.
It'll never understand the internal politics of the vendor, and then interpreting non-public analyst insights.
Yeah.
So again, you've got the sort of the perennial problems for AR, which is resource.
Yeah.
And then newer challenges such as the generative AI, agentic AI, deep research, and such like that.
Yeah.
And and plus the fact that there are more and more analysts firms.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I put up on LinkedIn my table of, hey, here are all the analyst firms that publish big rocks on these monetization applications, which are B2B applications for accounts receivable, billing, contract lifecycle, CPQ, financial close, payments, price optimization, and revenue recognition.
Yeah.
And I thought I had a pretty complete set of analysts that cover this space, because I was the analyst relations manager at Zora, the leader in monetization.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely both pleasantly surprised and horrified that, the AR community kept coming back and saying, well, what about this analyst firm? What about that analyst firm?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know them. And so that's another example of a challenge for AR is that there are more and more analyst firms,
Yeah.
whether they're single practitioners or mid-sized firms that
Yeah.
they need to pay attention to. And that's really difficult to do. And analyst relations can use AI tools to help them with that. But it's an initial challenge to keep track of all that.
Yeah, so we are definitely
We're
going
getting
to.
lots of great comments coming in. Hi, Paul. Hi, Beth. Alexander. Business value is an important one, so I'll turn it back over to you. But I'm sort of keeping out of the side of my eye what's going on over in the chat.
Yeah, so we are definitely going to go over all of those comments first, but I'm actually going to come back to the boutique firm discussion. We had that as part of our agenda as well. So let's go over the comments first because we have a lot of them, and we want to make sure that we are addressing those.
Yeah.
So Julian, hello Julian, thanks for joining. So Julian saying, question for you, Carter: will AI tools gaining traction in market intelligence? Do you see traditional analyst influence diminishing in the next 5 to 10 years? How should AR professionals adopt?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Hi, Julian. By the way, Julian is not only an analyst relations professional, but like me, he's an alumni of Gartner. So he's got the same sort of analyst AR point of view as well.
Yeah.
Now, when you think about analyst influence, so I just chat a little bit about AI and analyst relations. Let's turn the lens to the analysts themselves and AR and AI. So there are two different ways of thinking about this in terms of content creation as well as advice.
Yeah.
So research and advice. Now in that research note that I mentioned, the essential human element, how to make AI resilient, and the role of tacit knowledge. Same thing applies to analysts. In fact, there's a section of that research note where I talked about the industry analyst information advantage.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to look at my research notes to remember exactly what great phrase that I wrote down. And the point of this particular section is talking about how do the analysts stay relevant in the age of AI? And there's a lot of tacit knowledge and a lot of private information that analysts have access to that tools like deep research simply do not. And so what we're looking at are things like private conversations with their clients.
Yeah.
Gartner does over 500,000 one-on-one conversations with clients every year. The typical analyst does between 500 and 700 inquiries per year. And then if you multiply that by the number of analysts on a particular team, you're starting to get a lot of data points from all those conversations. Now, what's interesting, of course, is, OpenAI Deep Research does not have access to those proprietary conversations.
Yeah.
And so the analysts currently between their ears are gathering all this information and doing pattern analysis.
Yeah.
That makes them AI resistant because they have the ability to interrogate essentially their clients as they're having this conversation. As the analyst is delivering client value on the inquiry, they're also getting research that they can use in the next call they have, later that afternoon. I did over 1,000 inquiries per year when I was an analyst, and that is the secret sauce. But then there's also the briefings they get from the vendors. Now, most briefings have at least half of the information is non-public, under NDA or non-disclosure, or it's under embargo until the announcement at Informatica World sort of situation when they start putting out all of the PR and the analysts start doing their reaction. Well, they got briefed a couple of weeks before that, at least. So there's this private information that they're getting directly from the vendors during briefings under NDA. There are conversations that they're having with the analysts are having with investors or with people that come to their conferences. And people that come to the conferences are not always the biggest fans of the vendors.
Yeah.
So they're getting the dirt on what the vendors are doing in terms of their customers and such like that. And I could go on and on and on about this information advantage. And then the tacit knowledge that the analysts develop based on their experience and all these data points that they're getting. In fact, I'm going to take this section and then expand it out into its own research note, targeting the analyst firm, saying, analysts, you need to do a better job educating the market why you are still relevant in the age of, AGI, agentic, agents, etc.
Yeah, no, great, great feedback there. Thank you so much for that. So we'll address some more questions here. So we have Greg. Thank you so much, Greg, for joining. And Greg is saying that sales reps care when they lend relative to identified competition. I think he's referring to opportunity, I guess, or the deal.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier as well, in that, yes, human nature, you want to be seen as a leader. And that's why it's so important for AR and sales enablement to educate the analysts, educate sales reps on, hey, we're in the upper left-hand box or the lower right-hand box or even in the lower left-hand box. And guess what? That's okay. And here's how you position it. Here's how you talk about it with your client. Or your prospect rather, or your customer who's thinking about, upgrading or something of that nature is. And again, remember, there's only a handful of vendors that made it onto this analysis, which means that they're all winners because for every vendor that's on that, particular graphic, there are 10 or 20 that didn't qualify. So again, it's just, yes, human nature. We want to be in the upper right. We want to be first across the finish line. But the reality is the real value of just being on the research.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Thank you so much for addressing that. We have some more comments here, Greg. Thank you so much for joining. We have one from Sarita. I think she's liking the gold in the niche quadrant. And Vicky is looking for a job. If somebody can help him, I don't know what his background is. Please try to help him. I mean, this is all part of the community. So everybody should get benefit from that. Thank you so much, Vicky, and good luck. Andy, so he's saying, Carter, yes, contracts with AR firms are becoming more expensive, but inclusion in a wave, magic quadrant, etc., can easily pay for itself.
Yeah, this is actually a great question I want to address. And first off, it's analyst firms, not AR firms. I'm an AR firm. I don't publish a magic quadrant. Though maybe I will one day. And I'll put Gartner in the lower left-hand corner. There's two things to think about in this particular statement. One I agree with. A lot of people, a lot of vendors, a lot of vendor executives, that are the haters, say that the analyst firms are pay to play. And that if you don't spend $50,000 with Gartner, you'll never get on the magic quadrant. And I can point out, LinkedIn posts where the CEO of a small vendor said, hey, guess what? We're not a client and we're a visionary on this magic quadrant or wave or whatever. So you don't need a contract with an analyst firm mentioned in their research. You got to have good analyst relations to do that. But the other part is it is expensive to be in a wave or a magic quadrant or a MarketScape or an MGI 360 ratings or any of these others. And the expense here is not dollars. The coin of the realm is time. Time for whoever's handling analyst relations, whether it's a dedicated AR professional or a product manager who's doing it part-time. It is the time of the stakeholders, of the spokespeople. It is the time for the content creators. It's the time to fill out those that's not exactly the word most AR professionals, those darn RFIs that are hundreds of rows long that you can type in and stuff like that. So don't think of the expense as simply the budget of dollars, but rather the amount of time you have to spend to do all the work. So that's the real expense, time, not dollars. Now, I'm not saying that having a contract with an analyst firm is not useful for a vendor. Because you can be having ongoing conversations with the analysts, understand how they're thinking about the marketplace, how they're evolving the criteria for that. bouncing ideas off of them in terms of your messaging versus what they're hearing from the buyers of technology and stuff like that. So contracts are really important,
Yeah.
but contracts are not what gets you on the magic quadrant or a wave or a spark matrix.
Yeah.
It is, do you have a product that conforms to their inclusion criteria?
Yeah.
And are you smart enough to reach out to the analyst? And even if you're not a client, you can still do briefing.
Yeah. Yeah. So very interesting. So again, we are going to discuss some more, but let's attack the comments first. So we have Paul, and Paul is saying, from your feedback from clients, what are some coverage areas you see that are not being covered by analyst firms, and that has some demand?
Yeah. First off, there's well over 1,000 firms. The great company AR Insights has a product called Architect, which is an ARM, an Analyst Relations Management System. So think, CRM for the AR. And part of Architect's deliverables is a database of all the influencers. So there's over 1,000 firms, not 1,000 analysts, 1,000 firms within that particular marketplace or within that particular database, and like 7,000 analysts. Now, a lot of those are one or two person analyst firms. I think maybe Elevate IQ might fit into that description. But what becomes important then is for the buyers of technology and for the vendors to seek out those analysts that actually cover what they need. Now, when you think about it, there's more than 1,000 analyst firms. Of course, there are the behemoths, the big three, but there are many analyst firms that are covering specific niches. In this case, the niche is a particular industry or B2B capabilities or something of that nature. And then, or a geography. For instance, Phil Hassey down in Australia, Sydney, Australia, has Capital IT, has this firm really focused on ANZ and APAC. ANZ is Australia, New Zealand, and then APAC, of course, Asia Pacific, and such like that. So they can either be focused on a particular application area like MGI, which focuses only on monetization applications with their agile monetization platform, but they cover the whole waterfront of these applications. So what becomes important is for the end users that are wanting to use the analyst research and the vendors that want to educate the analysts is to seek out those analysts that are covering a specific area. Now, Paul is with Nucleus Research, and they do a really good job in a number of different markets and verticals and such like that. And the fact is that Paul once put in a comment saying, "Oh yeah, that's right, we can help you with these particular verticals." In terms of where are the gaps in coverage, there's bound to be some analyst somewhere that covers everything. However, can you find them? Whenever I talk to an analyst firm and an executive is complaining about why do people always just go with Gartner? We're really smart. We have some insights. And the first thing I ask two things, actually. How many sales reps do you have? And how much marketing do you have? And, not surprising, a lot of the analyst firms that are complaining the loudest do the worst job of getting the information out about themselves. They're almost thinking that, they can just sit here, invent the better mousetrap and the road will be the path to your door. It doesn't work that way. You have to develop visibility and awareness. And so for those analyst firms that are frustrated, look in the mirror. Are you investing in go-to-market? Are you investing in brand building? Are you investing in marketing? So I look at what's behind you right now on your screen. Very good marketing, very good brand building. You do all of these podcasts and such like that. So you're building good awareness, so people can find you for ERP, enterprise applications, such like that. There might be other analyst firms out there that are smarter than you, but guess what? Nobody knows about them. And so the first thing I say about, what are the coverage areas that are not being covered, that is really on a case-by-case basis and would be very difficult to just off the top of my head. I have never heard from my client, oh, actually, I misspoke. I used to complain all the time when I was at Zora to the analyst firms.
Yeah.
Why aren't you writing about the monetization platform?
Yeah.
Not just, yeah, you do CPQ and you do revenue recognition, but who's doing the platform?
Yeah.
And so that was always something, I was beating on Gartner, beating on IDC and Mark Thomason. At Gartner was Mark Lewis that had listened to complain about this. The guys at MGI Research, so on and so forth. So yes, there are gaps, but I'm not hearing about them from my AR clients.
Yeah.
Because they're probably just frustrated with what if there's a gap that they would like to have closed. Though when I do get a question like that, I do have methodologies about how can you get the analyst to start covering something that you want or in a way that's important for you. So that's a great question.
Yeah, no, great comments. Thank you so much. So we have some more comments here. So Beth is here. Hey, Beth, thanks for joining. And she's liking the niche quadrant discussion.
Yeah.
Education is important for sales team for sure. Yeah. Okay, so we have one more comment from Alexander, and he's saying, would love to hear how you articulate the business value of working with analyst firms when a vendor is not mentioned in research, such as MQ or Wave.
Right. Okay, so that's a great question, especially within the context of like startups or scale ups, smaller vendors that just don't quite meet the criteria yet.
Yeah.
One of the criteria that a lot of the analyst firms have is, how many customers do you have, or how much revenue you have, and such like that. And so that's just a matter of growing.
Yeah.
And if you don't make it this year, you might make it next year. But what's important to realize about contracts with the analyst firms is they're advisor. They're not just influencers.
Yeah.
So that a company that's not on one of the big rocks, but respects the opinion of the analyst from just what they've read or what they've heard and stuff like that, or they've done a free inquiry, by working with the analyst firm sales reps, because I used to do like 600 sales calls per year at Gartner. In essence, being the demo. Hey, I'm going to have you talk to this smart analyst. You'll see why you need to sign up for us. So the analyst can provide a lot of advice to the vendors, not just to the end user or not just to the investor. And so a company that's not on one of the big rocks but has ambitions to be there, they should consider getting a contract with the analyst firm in order to start talking to the analysts. Hey, you can be pretty explicit. What do we need to do to qualify for the next version of this piece of research? Now, Gartner's a machine. They put out an MQ every year on the same topic. Some of the other analyst firms are, less on a schedule. It might take, IDC 2 or 3 years. It might take a Forrester 2 to 4 years, and such like that. And so, but talking with the analysts, whether it's a boutique firm like yours or with one of the mega firms, is important, because now you're starting to understand how they perceive the market, how you need to adjust. Maybe they've got some good ideas. Maybe we need to adjust our messaging and we can accelerate our growth in order to qualify next year for this report. I see. They're thinking from their criteria for this marketplace that a vendor needs X, Y, and Z in terms of functionality. Well, working with the analyst through inquiry, you can start to adjust that criteria concept. I have been very successful in helping analysts, adjust their criteria for the evolving marketplace. And it's not manipulating the analyst. I am just sharing. Here's what we're hearing from our customers. Here's what we're hearing from our prospects. Here's what we're hearing from our partners. And here's how we perceive the market to be evolving. The analysts listen because their research approach is like a pointillist painting. The little dabs of paint. Well, they want to get the data points from the end users, from the vendors, from the investors, from the if it's a software company, they want to also hear from systems integrators and services partners and such like that, and then they get a complete picture of what's happening in the marketplace. If a company is not talking to the analysts, either formally in briefings or informally through inquiry, then they're not influencing that painting. And so, having that contract.
Yeah.
But what's important is not signing the contract. It's what you do after you put your signature on the contract, i.e., start setting up regular inquiries, start reading all the research, start providing feedback, start providing, customer stories. Use the analyst as a way to validate your draft messaging and such like that, or your strategy, and that's how you influence the analyst. And we are coming up on only a couple minutes left.
Yeah, but we have a lot of comments, so let's try to cover as many as possible. And then Carter, I know that you are probably going to get back
Do a
to.
lightning round.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do lightning round slightly quickly, I guess. So
Yes,
I think Sarita has only.
absolutely. Beth is right. AR should have a seat at the table with the C-suite.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I think that is right as well. Andy has a longer question, I guess. So Andy is saying, I think a major key to educating both the sales team and the C-suite is to ensure you are able to secure both your CMO and CRO in supporting the value of AR benefits. I would actually add the product people as well. They need them as much as CMO and CRO as well. If you can get them to understand and support your efforts, then you open the door, you have foot in the door for both the C-suite and sales team, and they will continue to push on your behalf. Some already understand the value, and then you have a leg up.
Yeah.
But often it's getting those above you, but below the C-suite to buy in and the CMO.
Yeah, and that's critically important because the danger to AR in the age of artificial intelligence is the perception that AR are briefing schedulers. So you really need to be educating the C-suite and their direct reports on how AR works, the value that the analyst can provide to the vendor. So completely agree with this. Next lightning round question.
Yeah. So we have one from Beth as well. So Beth is agreeing. Beth is saying that I have a great level of variance and buy-in on analyst value, even within the same organization from month to month or year to year. Could not agree more. Based largely on dot placement. The dot is the tricky one. We should kill the dot. But some can be very fickle. Part of it is managing expectations based on the business and market environment, and a reality check. And she's right.
Yeah. And again, this gets back to educating all your stakeholders.
Yeah.
So, have a brown bag lunch if you're in one of these organizations that's back to the office or return to the office. Have a brown bag lunch. Have every Friday at 12 o'clock, show up in this conference room. We'll talk about the or having a newsletter you sent out to all the appropriate stakeholders. So this all gets down to education, or what I call edu marketing, i.e. education using the techniques of marketing to get the information across to your internal colleagues.
Yeah, I like edu marketing a lot. Thank you so much for pointing that. Okay, so one more question here, two more actually. So we have, what metrics do you recommend to quantify AR value?
Money. If you start looking at it from the point of view of what's the impact on the top line, either through lead generation or direct sales impact. And this requires working with the marketing organization to get access to the Marketo data from lead generation, and working with the sales organization to make sure that the sales reps are asking the analysts or asking the prospects and customers which analysts they talk to, and then feeding that information back to the AR person who says, the analyst impacted this many deals for this many dollars. And here's how AR helped provide value to the sales rep in order to close that deal. Or here's how that reprint, where we spent a lot of time on that big rock, eventually flowed through the funnel and created tens of millions of dollars of lead generation.
So Sarita is trying to tee up the conversation. I think she's saying that, are you thinking of doing part 2? And I think we had so many questions and things that we wanted to cover.
It's up to him. Frankly, this is not unusual. When I did my 5-year analyst scenario, 2028, I'm ready to do an upgrade. And I did that hosted by AR Insights. We had 66 questions, and I'm not counting the thanks. Or is there going to be a replay?
Yeah.
Or can I get the slide? No. These were 66 hard-hitting questions just like this, because the analyst community, or the AR community rather, is a really engaged community that thinks really hard and really strategically about the issue of how analyst relations and the analysts impact vendors, impact their bottom lines, and impact their brand. So I'm not at all surprised that we have so many questions.
Yeah, could not agree more. And, we are really close to time right now. So, Carter, I don't know if you're going to have any sort of closing advice. And I'm pretty sure people already know how to find you, but still, if you are going to have any more information there.
I'd be delighted to provide that information. So Lusher Advisory, you can search for Lusher Advisory Substack. I'm working on a different website right now, but that's a good place to start. But frankly, go on LinkedIn, Carter Lusher. Up until the last month, there was only one Carter Lusher on LinkedIn. Now there's some young person who is the assistant manager of a bowling alley, Carter Lusher. So you'll be able to tell the difference between me and him. So those are the two best ways, LinkedIn or Lusher Advisory Substack.
Okay, perfect. Once again, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much everyone for commenting. Your comments really helped.
Yeah. And then one last thing, I'm going to try to capture these questions from Sam, and then I'll start writing a series of posts answering what I didn't get a chance to get through.
Yeah, once again, Carter, thank you so much for your time. You're incredible. You are very likable. I think everybody enjoyed the discussion. So thank you so much for doing this, Gartner.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.